It's a new week. You're welcome to Newsroom on GHOne TV. My name is Abna Owusunyamete. First, we take a look at the headlines. An Accra High Court finally grants the man accused of raping his 19-year-old house help bail, referring to the Lebanese suspect Rabi Haddad, and we'll bring you details here on Newsroom. Organizers of the Ghana Expatriates Awards take their turn at the Cash for Seats Saga Committee hearing. And later, governance analysts are challenging the Akufo-Addo administration to desist from interfering in the work of the special prosecutor. We'll take you up north, where police have confirmed that 2 persons were killed in nearly 100 houses and other properties burnt in renewed chieftaincy disturbances between Gonjas and Tampumas in the North Gonja district. We have details of these and many other stories all coming up. Do stay with us. You are welcome to Newsroom. Now, the committee set by Parliament to probe the Cash for Seats saga has resumed sitting. The minority spokesperson on Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, and Asawase MP Muntaka Mubarak appeared before the committee in its first public sitting to provide further details on why they called for the probe. The Trade Minister, Alan Shermating, who later appeared before the committee, dismissed allegations of extortion by his outfit in the scandal. Let's now cross over to Parliament, where the organizers of the particular awards, which has been the subject of discussion, is appearing before the committee. We'll bring you live excerpts now.
John Mahama. But because he could not make it, I sat in his seat. And next to me is our life patron and also GHOne Rollins. About an hour and a half when the program had started, the president's representative, Cecilia Johnson, arrived at the function. So she stood next to our life patron. This was in 2015 in Kumasi. Again, this was the former president, GHOne Rollins, greeting me, the president of the foundation, and our chairman, Ambassador Victor Beho. This was in 2015. On that occasion in Kumasi, the former president of the Republic of Ghana and head of state, John Agyekum Kufuor, received a prize, but he was out of the country. So after the event, myself and the chairman of the foundation went to present the former president of Ghana, John Agyekum Kufuor, his prize in his house. In 2016, the founder and president of the foundation, Ashim Morton, together with the chairman of the board, Ambassador Victor Beho, traveled to Zimbabwe, Harare, to invite President Mugabe to come to Ghana to receive his prize. But that event did not come on. He was not in the country. The event went on anyway, but he was not able to come to Ghana. His advance team were all in Ghana up until the day of the event. In 2017, as has been said earlier on by the chairman of the foundation, Ambassador Victor Beho, we paid a courtesy call to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana and the Head of State. This is the depiction of that visit. I am seen standing next to His Excellency the President and Head of State. On that same day, we hosted the Ghana Expatriate Business Awards, and on the stage, the Head of State is seen presenting the award to the top prize recipient, and I am standing right with the Head of State on stage. This was in 2017. So, Mr. Chairman, the illustration goes to show you that since 2017, up until now, the founder of the foundation always sits on the gold presidential table next to the Head of State. I also want to make another illustration here. We had a press conference a few weeks ago, and at that press conference, I mentioned that the center seat was meant for the president of the foundation. Was meant for the president of the foundation. In the media, there's this assertion that I am attempting to make myself the president of the Republic of Ghana. And that is not so. I can never do that. On the 4th of December, the foundation made and always made reservations for the seat for the Head of State. There were 19 people on the high table. And as I showed you earlier on, I'm always seated next to the Head of State. I am the president of the foundation, but I'm not the Head of State. On the 4th of December, 19 seats. The Head of State was seated in the center on the 4th of December. I was supposed to sit next to the Head of State. My intelligence, or our intelligence, sometime during the day on the 4th of December, we were informed that the president was out of town. However, his seat was still very much intact. Somewhere around 4:35 that same day, we were informed that the former First Lady was coming to the event. And so we had to make arrangements, and the seats became 20 to accommodate the former First Lady. And therefore, if you see from this illustration, we have 20 seats. The Head of State seat is still in the center, and to the right, you see this red mark here. Protocol-wise, this became the center. This now becomes the center seat. And protocol-wise, the president always sits, the Head of State always sits on the right of the center seat. And for that reason, I had to vacate this seat to go and sit here for the Head of State. This is the illustration to confirm what I mentioned at our press conference. The Head of State's seat was in the center on the 4th of December and was also there on the 4th of December, but protocol-wise, because this seating arrangements became 20, the center, the president and head of state sits to the right of the center seat, and therefore my seat, I had to vacate my seat to sit here. So the president of the Republic of Ghana and head of state always had a seat at that occasion. So this explains, in addition to my illustration, that wherever we host an event, the Millennium Excellence Foundation makes arrangement for the head of state, and the founder is always seated next to the head of state on that row. And this is illustration. Thank you very much. And protocol-wise, the head of state sits here, and this is why it's called the Presidential Gold Table. Thank you. I mentioned those on the high table. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I was watching the presentation of the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, and he made a statement that 17 seats were on the high table. I'd like to make a small correction. When he mentioned all the names, he mentioned the former president and head of state, John Rawlings, and his wife. That is 2. So that makes that 18. Now, he did not mention our chairman, Ambassador Gbeho, and he did not mention Joe Mensah from Cosmos. So if you add those 2 with the former first lady, it becomes 20. So those who were seated on that table on that day were His Excellency, the head of state and president of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, my chairman, Ambassador Victor Gbeho, my good self, Honorable Alan Chermanting, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, Her Excellency Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings, Yofi Grant, Honorable Ishmael Ashite, Honorable Carlos Ahenkra, Mr. Said Fakri of Interplast, Mr. David Harper of GeoDrill, Mr. Yeo Jienbenton of Unilever, Mr. Mike Thakwani of B5 Plus, Mr. Bagwan Kupchandani from Melcom, Ms. Roshi Motman from Airtel Tigo, Mr. Anil Mohinani from the Mohinani Group, Mr. Salem Kalmoni from Japan Motors, Mr. Amar Hari from IPMC, Mr. Joe Mensah from Cosmos, and Mr. Jim Ovia from Zenith Bank. That makes the number 20. Again, in my illustration, as I mentioned, we had 108 seats that were sponsored, 11 individuals on the gold table. These are the individuals we invited to the gold table. 322 complimentary seats and 9 officials on that table. The total number is 450. That is what we catered for, 450. And we did not sell tickets at the gate. Companies who did not sponsor were given 322 complimentary seats. So, Mr. Chairman, that is my presentation. I thank you.
Thank you. We will have to assist you to speak to some of the documents that you... We wrote to you to furnish us with some documentation, and you supplied us with a letter that you wrote to the Minister of Trade and Industry titled Top Expatriates Business Awards, Ghana, TEPA. Is that right? So, honorable members.
And so the man who made the presentation earlier was the president of the Millennium Excellence Foundation, Ashim Morting, giving the committee details as to what exactly happened at the Ghana Business Expatriates Awards. We'll take you back to Parliament in a bit, but right now let's get you details of one of our headline stories about the Accra High Court granting Lebanese Rabi Haddad, the man accused of raping his 19-year-old house help bill of 500,000 cedis with 2 sureties. My colleague Nabil Ahmed Rufai joins us live at the courts with details of what happened in court. Nabil, it's been quite a journey in getting Rabi bail. What happened in court today?
Exactly, Abna. Today, so in courts, we're just going to get the ruling from the judge who hears the case. Now, in giving his ruling, he said the prosecution has not been able to justify why Rabi Haddad should not be granted bail. According to him, the investigations into the alleged rape case is still ongoing, and that continuing to let Rabi Haddad be in police custody will not be in order. Hence, he granted him bail to the tune of 500,000 cedis. Now, the judge also argued that the argument that Rabi Haddad is likely to abscond from the country as being put across by the prosecution cannot hold, because Rabi Haddad has been in the country for 10 years, and he is hopeful that he will make himself available whenever needed for investigations to continue.
What were the reactions from lawyers of Rabi and Rabi himself? I'm sure he cited him in court.
Rabi was not in court. We understand that he's not been feeling well since being kept in police custody for some months now. But his wife was here in court, and during the proceedings, she was teary. She was crying, actually. All the time when she appears in court, she's been crying. But when we stepped down after the ruling, she was all smiles, and she was happy that today her husband has been granted bail. Now, the lawyer, Ralph Opoku, also says they'll be able to fulfill all bail conditions as being ordered by the court, and they are grateful to the court that their client has been granted bail, but then they would go to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Rabi Haddad is indeed innocent of the charge being proffered against him.
And so what happens to the substantive case? When is it going to be heard in court?
So, the judge did not indicate that. This is just the preliminary hearing of the case. We are yet to start the actual hearing. This was just the preliminary. And now that he's been granted bail, I think processes will be made for the substantial case to kickstart.
Thank you very much. Nabil Ahmed Rufai is my colleague, and he joined us from the courts where the Lebanese national Rabi Haddad, who has been accused of raping his house help, has been granted bail. Now, the substantive case, as you heard from Nabil, will be heard subsequently. You are watching Newsroom on GHOne TV. Earlier, we brought you live pictures from the sitting of the ad hoc committee set by Parliament to probe the Cash for Seats saga. Now, organizers of the awards are before the committee, and so we'll quickly cross over and continue with the proceedings.
And then your letter is F4. This one.
I think we'll have to go back and reorder the labeling.
Thank you.
One will stand, MEF1 will stand as it is. Then,
Mr. Chairman, MEF1 is the letter, the copy of the letter that says Top Expatriate Business Awards. Dated,
yes.
Dated 6th April.
Yeah,
Okay.
the one that, yes.
Thank you very much.
6th April.
Thank you.
The 6th April letter.
Yeah.
And then we'll rather label the transmitter letter, the one that you wrote to us, with the accompanying documents as 2.
Okay.
As 2. The request to furnish, request to furnish documentation and invitation to attend upon special committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could get a copy.
That will be MEF2.
2, yes. If I could get a copy of that, please.
And then the expatriate businesses under identified will be 2A.
Thank you.
Because it was attached to the transmitter letter.
Thank you.
And then the list of people who attended the program will be 2B.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
And then we'll label the letter from the solicitors as MEF3.
How are you? You okay? Thank you. So far, so good. Thank you very much.
So you have all the documents with you now?
We're waiting, Mr. Chairman, for the photocopies from the lady.
Oh.
You have MEF 2A.
Yes, I don't have 2B.
You don't have 2B.
Yes. I don't have the cover letter.
And you don't have MEF 2.
2B is the list of those who attended.
Yes. I don't have MEF 2 and 2B. Yeah. Yes.
Mr.
I don't have.
Chairman,
Go ahead. You can use yours.
it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Well done. I don't think he knows of the cover letter. MEF 2. Hang on. Copy of
Yes.
MEF 2. Cover letter. A copy of MEF
2. So this is 2B. MEF 2. Thank you.
Good show. You're not using this.
No, I'm not going to show that at all. Yeah.
Ambassador Ashim Morton,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
the ministry related to us that you signed a memorandum of understanding with them.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have a copy of the MOU? So I will take it into evidence.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So you tender it, we ask the clerks to make copies. We'll give back your copy to you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Okay. The gentleman is running copies of the MOU for us. But in the meantime, I think we can begin. It's not an interrogation, but we are seeking clarifications and asking questions relating to your presentation and other matters that have been put before us already. We may seek your views on some of those matters. Honorable Yao Buabia Samwa will begin the process.
Thank you, Chairman. Ambassador Victor Beho, if I may start with you. In your presentation, you did say that the foundation is known for its expertise in fundraising. What kind of expertise, and how was that expertise applied in the current exercise?
Thank you. When an organization like the Millennium Excellence Foundation sets out to raise funds for a particular event, it has first of all to sit down and decide what kind of sponsorship it wants. You probably have noticed that in the case of the Expatriate Business Awards, that we went to the same people and of course others who were award winners or who later on became award winners for sponsorship. In some other cases, we avoid nominated persons or organizations. But each one has to be carefully judged, and also the approach should be carefully measured in order not to suffer total rejection. The expertise that you also require is to how to put your case to the potential sponsor in order to elicit an affirmative answer. The another expertise is that you should choose the time of approaching sponsors very carefully in order to ensure that their responses would meet your demands. Chairman, it's these sorts of expertise that I was talking about, and I can say once again that in the 2 decades of its existence, our foundation has gained considerable experience in managing the fundraising. Thank you.
And in this case, after careful consideration with all your expertise, you decided to seek sponsorship from the very same people who were going to be recognized and honored?
Among others. Thank you.
You have told this committee that you paid a courtesy call on the President of the Republic. Was it a call specifically about these awards?
I'm afraid not. The foundation has a track record of calling on each and every head of state since it was founded to convey, first of all, its greetings to that head of state, and secondly, to give the head of state an idea of what the foundation will be doing in the immediate future. And so we went to see His Excellency the President not too long after he had been installed, and had a discussion with him, during which we briefed him on what we have or what we had done up to that point, and also what we intended to do in the next few months. It was at that stage that he showed interest, but wished us well. In other words, that it was our duty to bring that idea to fruition.
The system.
But this one is working.
Something else. Thank you, sir. Ambassador. Thank you. Did you go back? Did you go back to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, to ask for help in organizing this event? After the courtesy call, that is.
No, we did not.
When you say, in your own words, sought and received partnership, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, can you clarify it further? How did you seek and achieve that partnership? And what are the elements of that partnership?
What I meant by that is that we asked for an appointment with the Minister of Trade and Industry, held a discussion with him, tried to persuade him to see things as we had already decided, and to agree to accept us as partners in bringing those ideas to fruition. Now, when we discussed it with him, he immediately saw our point. He was very pleased with it and said that we should work together with the ministry on this. Now, following that, as has already been pointed out at this hearing, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the ministry and our foundation, outlining areas of responsibility, or in other words, how we were going to pull off the awards event that we had talked about. Thank you.
Is that the practice, that you've always signed memoranda of understanding with your potential partners?
No, it isn't. And I'd like to say that when it was suggested to us that we should have a memorandum of understanding, in other words, a legal document between ourselves and the Ministry of Trade, we accepted without question, because what we were doing was in the area of public and private participation, and it needed to be set out in legal terms.
So the ministry proposed the MOU.
Yes, it did.
Now, if I may come to Ambassador Ashim Morton. How was the fundraising?
All right, and so we are back, and the members of the committee are taking turns to question organizers of the Ghana Expatriate Business Awards. The founder, Victor Belho, is present, as well as Ashim Morton, the president of that foundation, and we'll be bringing you more on their sitting today, later this evening on News Tonight. Right now, governance analysts are asking the Akufo-Addo administration to desist from acts that could interfere in the work of the special prosecutor. The president has been widely commended for appointing former Attorney General Martin Amidu as the first person to occupy that office. But political watchers say the commendation will be brought to naught if government functionaries interfere in the work of the special prosecutor.
For many, the appointment of Martin Amidu as the special prosecutor has restored confidence in the president's commitment to the fight against corruption. Member of Parliament for Tamale Central and ranking member on Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Inusaf Hussaini, says Martin Amidu's appointment has shot up the president's ratings.
He was around C, and I was minded to give him C+. But yesterday's ratings will take him to B or B+.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor will have the mandate to investigate and prosecute cases of alleged corruption under the Public Procurement Act 203, Act 63, and other corruption-related offences implicating public officers and political office holders. Some people have argued Martin Amidu may use the office to settle personal scores, but retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice V.C. R.A.C. Crab, says the special prosecutor will act within the remits of the law.
You can publicly support somebody you have appointed, but inwardly you have the right, and I believe the president has been doing so, to castigate, to do whatever he can for the person to realize that it is wrong. You don't wash your dirty linen in public. No government does. So I think he'll do his job very well.
Executive Director for the Center for Democratic Development, Professor Jima Boedi, is equally cautioning government to refrain from acts that would interfere in the work of the special prosecutor.
My expectation is that they fund the office. They fund the office adequately, they resource the office adequately, and most important, they refrain from, they avoid putting pressure on him to drop cases and to exonerate their own people.
Let's now take you up north, where police have confirmed that 2 persons were killed and nearly 100 houses and as well as other properties burnt in renewed chieftaincy disturbances between the Gonjas and the minority Tampumas in the North Gonja district of the northern region. The victims, 55-year-old John Bakari and a 90-year-old woman, were killed in a fierce raid on 3 Tapuma regions by heavily armed Gonja men, allegedly from Daboya and Damongo. The attack began at dawn on the community called Disa, where at least 35 houses were burnt completely. We can now cross over and speak to Eliasu Tanko, who is our correspondent in the northern region. Eliasu, thank you for joining us. Let's now first talk about the condition of the persons who were shot in this raid.
So, Abena, we understand that these 3 persons are currently receiving treatment at a local health center in a community called Tari. We do not know exactly their condition for now, but residents who visited them said they were responding to treatment.
And we understand many houses have been burned. How are the residents keeping up, and what's the extent of damage?
It appears this particular attack, the residents were aware of this particular attack, and so before even the Gonjas attackers arrived at this particular village, scores of them had already fled, leaving the two persons that you just mentioned, or just in your comments that the police are telling us that they are now deceased. And so as to speak, scores of the residents living in these particular three villages, Bisa, Saligo, and Nambiango, have fled totally from these particular communities, and they are currently taking refuge at communities at Mankargo and Lingbesi.
And what is the police doing to bring perpetrators to book?
We understand nearly 40 people have been arrested. That have not been confirmed to us. Other residents are saying that only 7 persons have been arrested. We have been trying to reach out to the police and get the exact number of people who have been rounded up in that communal violence that have not been successful. But we know that the police are making a very strong move, and currently we know that there are some people behind bars.
Elias, let's talk about authorities in the affected communities. How have they been reacting to this attack?
The real motive behind this particular attack, bit by bit, is now unfolding. What we are learning now is that it's not so much about the chieftaincy violence, but we understand it has a connection to the new region, or the proposed new region in the region. We understand that the complements living in that particular area have pledged support for the Mampusis instead of the Gonjas, and we understand this is where the Gonjas in that particular area are very angry. That is why some of them have really gone ahead to attack the temple. But we also know that there is a chieftaincy dispute between these two tribes. Last year, there was tensions because the templements in that area really wanted a paramount chief, somebody who will be able to settle their petty dispute without going to the Wasipeura or the Daboyaura, and that has been very difficult for the Daboyaura to create a paramountcy for the templements, and that has been the cause of this particular violence. But we know that, or we are learning that this particular really violence is as a result of the ongoing process to create new regions in the northern region, from the northern region rather.
Fortunate development there, but thank you very much. Elias Tanko joined us from Tamale. The livelihoods of young farmers at the Bandem irrigation project is under threat. According to the farmers, a strange disease has wreaked havoc in their farms since 2015. Some of them who spoke to GHOne News' Upper West correspondent Musa Lansa said several attempts to get authorities to come to their aid have been unsuccessful.
Atinka Akukberimi, a 38-year-old tomato farmer, told GHOne News he has not been able to harvest tomatoes for 3 years. The development has affected not only the incomes of the tomato farmers, but also affected the availability of tomatoes at the Sunday market. The district chief executive for the area, David Afoko, who visited the area, said he will get officials of Ministry of Food and Agriculture to respond to the concerns of the farmers.
I will have to involve the Ministry of Agriculture, to come and actually look at the problem, because this one in here that's in sometimes on years past, the whole of the land is used for tomatoes, and these tomatoes supply Sandema market, Fumbisi market, Viega market, and other markets. It was helping, the district.
Now, the distance from Dambai to Yabram in the Karachi East District of the Volta region, where the community senior high school built by the NDC is located, is hampering academic work. Our correspondent Michael informs us on journey to the place and has filed this report.
The Yabram Community Day Senior High School is among the community day schools established by the erstwhile NDC administration under President John Mahama. The school currently has a student population of 463. Students of the school have to cover a distance of 10 kilometers on a daily basis from Dambai to Yabram. There are three options open to the students in covering the distance: walk, ride bicycles, or use abubuya. The situation has become a major headache for the students. The daily trek is impacting on the students' academic work, especially as they get tired before the day's lesson.
You wake up very early like 6, but by the time you reach school, like because of the walking, you are there like 9 or 10. And you come there, the masters are in class teaching, you are so exhausted, you don't take anything in. All you do, sometimes they come in, put their head on your tables, and they are gone.
If this should be continued like this, we can't get to learn well in the school.
Or when you walk from the house to the school, you can't learn, you'll be tired. Then you'll be sleeping, you can't learn.
So it's affecting our academic performance. And we are appealing for the government that should come and give us body facilities and the school bus as well.
The acting assistant headmaster of the school, Inokumi, also confirmed how the distance from Dambai to Yabram is affecting academic work in the school.
Normally, when they reach here, they are tired. When you are even teaching, they will be dozing off in the class. And some of them, the next day, they will not come to school. If you ask them, they say they are tired, their leg is paining them. So the distance is really affecting the academic performance of the students.
But the situation does not only affect the students, even teachers bear the brunt of the long trek. The lack of accommodation around the school means that teachers must also cover same distance to the school daily.
And we'll get to the Education Ministry and bring you some answers in trying to get a means of transport for these students. Here in Akoa, fear has gripped some residents of Dansoman over the safety of a 2-story building located at Gaskia near Flamingo. Some concerned inhabitants told GHOne News that the structure is on the verge of collapse. Here's a report by William Evans Inkum.
It looks strong from afar, but a closer view depicts a looming danger. Our attention was drawn to this weakened story building by some concerned residents who want the city authorities to act swiftly to avert a disaster. Cracks at the front and side views are so glaring, and we gathered some tenants moved out upon sensing an imminent danger. But not all of them have abandoned this death trap. There are few people who are still living here, not because of courage, but due to lack of an alternative. Though worried residents will not speak to us on camera, they fear the story building will soon collapse. But perhaps the most threatening part is the fact that there are people occupying the basement, and these unsuspecting tenants are sitting on a time bomb, as this building can tumble down any moment. Last year, a 3-story building was demolished by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly at Dunkirk after an assessment proved the said building was not safe for human habitation.
When they started the building, I went and confronted them to know what exactly, because the situation of the building is not good. I went to the AMA office to report the issue to them.
Here at Odoko, some residents have also issued a caution about this structure they claim was once declared dangerous by the local authority. For instance, on January 31, 2017, 6 children died at the Breman Jamira Methodist School in the Odobin Brakwa district of the Central Region when their dilapidated school building collapsed on them. That was not the end of the story, because on May 7, 2017, 20 congregants at the Christ-like Ministries Church at Bawe sustained injuries when the church building collapsed on them. Now, just when they were nursing their wounds with the country thinking of what to do in order to avert a recurrence, then on October 7, 2017, 2 children died after a building collapsed on them at Kwadaso, a suburb of Kumasi. So with this haunting memories, maybe it's about time the stakeholders or authority act on this particular dilapidated structure at Keskia near Flamingo in Dansoman. A stitch in time, they say, saves 9.
Well, it's time for us to take a break. We'll be back with more stories. Do stay with us.
G is non-stop music. It's sharing and entertainment without buffering. It's gaming with no lag and movies with full immersion. 4G is business without restrictions. It's also smarter money. It's learning beyond borders, achievement without limits, and health for everyone. It's love, family, joy, and everything else. 4G is life. Get a 4G device today and live on the next level. MTN 4G. Hello, future.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
Her ambition was to cater for orphans and the poor.
I'm a doctor. I'm sure maybe. Mama John money idea. I'm a doctor. I'm sure some
But that dream has nearly been cut short by a genetic disorder that has not only disfigured her, but sidelined her from school, with discrimination in society taking a toll on her. Adiza has neurofibromatosis, a genetic disorder that has no cure but can be controlled. Join me, Alice Aite, on Monday, 15th January 2018, as I delve deep into the life of the 17-year-old living with a condition that continues to distress many as a result of ignorance. GHOne News. News you can trust.
A lot goes on around us every day. Sometimes traditional news outlets cannot capture it the very second it happens. But you have a phone that has a camera, so you have the power. Give us your account of the most depressing and interesting stories in your community. When it happens and you're there, you report it to 0551 433 055. When you see something, say something. Share it on 055 143 3055. MTN Video Report, Mondays and Thursdays on Newsroom, in association with MTN. Everywhere you go.
You're welcome back. It's now time for international news. Now, Liberia's outgoing president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, has been expelled from her own party for allegedly failing to support its candidate to succeed her. That's according to the BBC. Now, Johnson Sirleaf is accused of encouraging people to vote against her vice president, Joseph Boakai. Former footballer Joia won the presidential elections in December, defeating Mr. Boakai. Now, the Unity Party's national chairman, Wilmont Pay, in an interview with GHOne News, hinted bad blood between the outgoing president and her party executives. He spoke to William Evans Inkum.
The issue of corruption, how do you respond to these concerns or accusations?
The only response we can give to them is the assurance and the reassurance that they have a leadership that they can trust, a leadership that is going to lead this country by example.
Do I get a sense that the previous administration, which was led by Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, couldn't fight corruption?
But she admitted that in her last annual message. She admitted that she couldn't perform well in two areas: reconciling the country, reconciliation, and fighting corruption. So that's where we're picking up from. So the next leadership is committed to that. That has been placed on the front burner, and we believe strongly that we are going to take it in a more aggressive manner.
Interesting developments there from Liberia. Let's now bring you some other headlines outside Ghana.
President Donald Trump has denied that he is racist after a row broke out over his alleged use of disparaging remark to describe African nations. Mr. Trump reportedly used the term last week during a bipartisan meeting on immigration reform. It is the first time the president has responded directly to the racism accusations. He made the denial to White House reporters at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach in Florida on Sunday.
No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person you have ever interviewed. That I can tell you.
In recent weeks, the Trump administration has been withdrawing temporary protected status from a number of nationalities currently living in the country.
All right, let's now bring you some sports news. And we get to bring you highlights of the English Premier League, that game between Liverpool and Man City.
Close game, but an exciting game. I think there's going to be goals in it. Sensational games when the big clubs.
And Liverpool get the ball for a longer period of time that he isn't. Mane found by Firmino. Salah quickly on the scene. Still Salah. Chamberlain really looking to make a mark here. And it's a driving run. It's a brilliant shot. And Liverpool lead the leaders.
This is a big moment for him. He skips past Fernandinho if he's not there.
Gomez taken out by the pass, and Sane lovely change of direction, and he's fired it in. He's beaten Karras at the near post.
You cannot let that one go in. It goes underneath them and through them.
Chamberlain on the move again, and to slide it down the side of Stones for Firmino. Roberto Firmino.
Now it's time for us to take leave of you, but before we go, there's been talk about the police engaged in some acts of corruption. There's this video circulating on social media about a man who was believed to be asked by the police personnel for some money, and here's what transpired.
You stop these things. One day I will arrest you people. One day. When I'm angry and I'm driving and I see these things, I'll just put you in my car and arrest you. When will you stop this nonsense? When? Ghana must change. It's you people. If you catch me I'm wrong, take me to court. Don't be collecting 2 cedis. You are above 2 cedis. Take 10 cedis, 20 cedis, 50 cedis. What is 2 cedis for you people? You should change your attitude. Change your attitude. Police people, change. Ghana will never move on if you people are collecting 2 cities. And these foolish drivers will give it to you. And be committing crime. Change has come. Drive on, let's go.